I wanted to save the world, and I didn't mind going to a war zone.
I was there, and I thought I had a job to do, and I tried to do it to the best of my ability. I mean, why didn't I just decide I was leaving along with everybody? It didn't occur to me.
There's a brotherhood and a sisterhood. It's weird, insane people that do this kind of work all tend to bond.
I worked for USAID for 23 years, about 12 of those years as a mission director, ultimately in Haiti.
Sometimes I say I'm in the tree huggery business, probably 40 years, for various organizations, including USAID, Peace Corps, mostly as what's called a country director or a chief of party. I worked in one of the highest danger zones in Bosnia. I was a country director, and I was working for a French NGO at the time.
That was, as I said, the year I called it the trifecta of disasters, because the earthquake is just one of an infinite series of earthquakes. We had a cholera epidemic. Haiti had no history of cholera. That was, disaster number 2. And then when it seems as if things couldn't have gotten any worse, we had the annual hurricane. Haitians are accustomed to hurricanes, but kind of when it hits you when you're down and out, you just had an earthquake and a cholera epidemic, that was a bit much.
You go up country into Bosnia, and you start to see, the destruction of buildings. But it gets worse the farther inland and towards the center you go, to the point where you see walls and you realize they're just so pockmarked. Whole blocks are completely just rubble. And then someone stops and says, this is where you're going to live. And it's in the middle of all of that.
Safety is the #1 priority. If not, his central nervous system, fight, flight, and freeze, takes over. When someone is in that state, which is a high adrenaline state, heart is racing, you are in a high anxiety state, survival is in question.
And so everybody is kind of walking around on eggs waiting for the next aftershock. I remember we used to have meetings with all the donors, and the room where we had the meetings, everybody would jostle to be sitting next to the door, so that if anything happened, they could get out of there as fast as possible. It's funny in retrospect, but at the time it wasn't.
We have in our vehicle, in our body, a mechanism that responds and gives us information constantly in the forms of symptoms.
This is the first time I ever experienced stress of that intensity and that nature. And so I wasn't aware of it. It's just a feeling of being tight and tense all the time and being unable to relax. You kind of forget about what relaxation feels like. And it becomes a permanent part of the way you interact with your environment. But you're not aware of it. It's something that creeps up on you.
When were you made aware of it?
I was aware of it after I left.
So there was insecurity, clear poverty,
3
traumatic
disasters.
events, 3 disasters, physically seeing some of these things. Those are like basically being exposed to either trauma yourself or even the trauma of others.
I don't think that I'm particularly resilient, to tell you the truth.
You made it for 2.5 years.
Yeah, but I could see the impact of it. For example, I got shingles, and I just think it was stress related.
We all called ourselves the Bosnia Babes afterwards because we were the females working in Bosnia, so there weren't a lot of us. We talked about our experiences and started to realize that this new term, PTSD, that was starting to be floated around, oh my gosh, we have the, check, I got that, check, I got that, check, I got that. So we knew we had all been traumatized by this experience.
People who are working in, more empathic professions, police officers, caseworkers, a whole host of individuals. And I would even lump in our international development community into this in terms of the empathy and the drive to help. Why do people have that drive, and why can it not turn off?
They have found their way of being to minimize themselves and to make the person that they're helping the focus of their life, or the relationships around them the focus of their life. And that, of course, is a very positive thing in many ways. But if we do not have the capacity to put self first.
Lofty. I was trying to be overly, I'm so great, I can live in this environment. Well, when I wasn't
Be part of the people.
Yeah, well, come on. You're not part of the people. You're just not. You're an American working in a war zone, so you're not part of the people. Stop trying to be this, integrated Peace Corps volunteer. This is not the Peace Corps. This is a very different environment, and you need to recognize that.
How can work with this type of pressure and importance and, this altruistic,
Save the world.
How can that kind of work be a healing environment?
I think I should have had some breaks in there. It's the kind of thing that I think after 3 to 6 months you need to get away from it for a while. If you're there for an ongoing period, you start to think it's normal.
Smell the roses. So when we originally started talking and you asked me what were you particularly proud of or what happened, so take the 2 minutes, take the half hour, take the hour, and not in writing up a report to the grant organization, but actually sit and reflect or talk to other people about, isn't it frigging amazing that we went from X to Z? If you don't get sleep, then this is not going to work. And I said, how do you sleep with these mortars going on? And she said, sleep when the mortars aren't going on. So, but you have to work. Well, change your work hours. These are the hours I work so that I can sleep. I let my staff sleep. How did I not think of this? And it's because I came in and that was not what the organization I was working on. That's not what they did. But I immediately changed it.
I think the most difficult aspect of it all was the amount of attention that we were given for at least 6 months. We would get daily calls saying what's happened and have you all fixed this and is this running, and things just weren't happening as fast as people expected them.
A number of my friends changed careers and are now psychologists and social workers because they want to pass along what they learned.
Self-care is a big trend lately, which it should be, and it's great. But what's really interesting about this discussion that we've been having is it's been less about get enough sleep, eat well, stay hydrated, meditate, but it's more about this interconnectedness. The person is not alone, that there needs to be this community to heal.
Realize someone else is not going to take care of me as well as I and my immediate relationship with my immediate people in the same place can take care of me.
Everything boils down to relationships. The relationship that we have with ourselves, the relationship we have and all the different kinds that we have with other people, and the relationship that we have or don't have with spirit. It's not a matter of how to prepare their staff. It's how to provide for their staff.
People who knew what they were doing, people who could give me sound advice, people who would say, we need to do this, this, and this, in this order.
Sometimes we know what to do, but how to do it.
Yeah.
And someone had to, give you that advice. It's simple, you saw afterwards.
But her very specific guidance was a game changer for me.
You realize the pace at which people are working and their attitudes as they work is very, very different from a place where, it's kind of a little bit of madness underlying everything.
Band of brothers, they're still friends because they have this shared experience, but it's deeper than being in a war zone. They have it before they went in, this compassion for sharing at different levels with different people, and then people with common values or opinions about that seem to find one another because you have to.